Hello, guys, and welcome to today's off-season hurricane outlook and discussion for April 18th, 2023. And today is mostly going over sea surface temperatures. Now, I would show the models. The GFS has been showing some type of subtropical cyclone maybe in the West Atlantic, but the wind shear is just way too high, so I don't really think it's going to happen. That's in like the 96 or so hour time frame, but it's the only model really picking it up right now. So, nothing to really be any concern about. But here are the SSTs here in the Western Atlantic. They are plenty warm enough. We got 26s here creeping up along the Gulf Stream here. 25s and 26s, definitely good enough for tropical and subtropical development. And here in the Western Atlantic, you got 24s, 25s, good for subtropical development. The Caribbean is definitely warming up nicely. We've got 26s, 27s, 28s creeping in here. So these areas are warming up nicely for this time of year. And some areas are way above average in some of these areas. So here in the Gulf of Mexico, we got 26s, 27s creeping up here. And this is going to be ready to go here real soon in the Gulf of Mexico. I would probably think by the start of May, probably the second week of May, this is all probably going to be 25s and 26s in here, if I had to take a guess. So those are pretty warm. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the whole of the Atlantic here, and as you can see, the main development region is really starting to get there now. And here's in a little bit, we're going to see that some of these sea surface temperature anomalies are for really like 3 degrees above the long-term average, which is absolutely insane. But as you can see, where most of the waves come off, we're looking at 24s, 25s, and these 26s are slowly creeping their way north. They're going to continue to creep on north. Farther and farther we get into April, May, going into the hurricane season. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 26s, 27s, maybe some 28s here in the main development region, because there's a classic plus AMO signature to this basin right now, and the westerly winds are forecasted to continue, so these are only going to get hotter as we head forward. All right, so here is the sea surface temperatures for the ENSO regions here. So here is your equatorial line right here where it says EQ. You go there, looking at 28s, 27s, maybe small pockets of 26s. And here in the 1.2 region, you got 28s. And I think this has been, the 1+2 regions have been cooling down a little bit. So we're going to see how much that cools over the next, coming days or so as we head out. But these waters are definitely getting there to the El Nino, threshold. All right, so now we're back into the North Atlantic here, and we are talking about SST anomalies here. This classic plus AMO signature, classic. Now, granted, the Caribbean is averaged slightly below average, but you look at this main horseshoe here, and you definitely got a classic plus AMO signature in the Atlantic right now, and I think this is going to play a big factor in the season. With the developing, El Nino, can this classic plus AMO put a cap on the effects of the El Nino? That's we're gonna have to see about that. And here you can see in the subtropics, we are cooling down. We have a cool signature here in the subtropics, and that's a plus. That is a plus for the season as well, because not only do you not have warm sea surface temperatures, but with the cooler sea surface temperatures comes less stability issues in the main development region. So is that going to be another factor that plays a part in the season? I would think yes, but we're gonna have to see how that all pans out going forward. Here in the Gulf of Mexico, you can see we're not gonna be able to zoom in too much, but we are looking at three, two, three degrees above the long-term average, which is absolutely insane here. Now, granted, the Gulf of Mexico doesn't really, it doesn't really have a say so on what El Nino does because the Gulf is its own separate entity, so to speak. The El Nino doesn't really affect the Gulf of Mexico so much as it does the Caribbean and the Western Main Development Region. And because we are going into an El Nino, I'm going to have to say this that the Eastern Main Development Region, the Central Main Development Region, is probably going to be the hotspot for tropical cyclones to form when it comes to the main development region. Because, granted, we are in an El Nino, those effects in wind shear can only go out so far. So that's another thing we're going to have to keep in mind of as we head towards the season. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the anomalies here in the ENSO regions. This 1+2 region here, off the charts. We're talking about 6 degrees, maybe 7 degrees above the long-term average. I don't know if I can comprehend that, to be honest with you. You know, could NOAA Coral Reef be overdoing those temperatures a little bit? Who knows? I know on Tropical Tidbits on the CDAS, they have it at like 2.3 degrees above the long-term average, but 6 or 7 degrees above the long-term average, that's ridiculous. That's nuts. And some of that warmth is starting to work its way westward with time, but we also have the international dateline to look at too. We've had continuous westerly wind bursts in those areas, and not only is the 1+2 region might be pushing waters to the west, warm waters to the west, but these westerly wind bursts are probably pushing warmer waters to the east. So it's only a matter of time before we get the 3.4 region to where it needs to be in an El Nino. Now, there's some hype going around about it there being a strong El Nino. Honestly, I don't buy into that hype. Not yet, at least. I'm looking at the next 1 to 2 months, not the next 6 to 7 months. That's just not that's not how I am. I look at the near term, 1 to 2 months. I think by mid June we should be in an El Nino, a weak one. Let me reiterate that, weak El Nino by the mid June. That's my forecast. That's my prediction for what the ENSO is going to do. So now we're going to take a look at what the sea surface temperature anomalies actually are in the 1+2 area. Now, I know the NOAA Coral Reef Watch sea surface temperature map that I showed temperatures off the chain. But these anomalies are about 2.8 degrees above the long-term average. So that doesn't really correlate to what we saw on the map there. So something seems a little off there about that map. So are we going to continue to see these 1+2 region temperatures go up? Or are we going to start to see them come down a little bit? Only time will tell. But right now, we're kind of going on the downward trajectory, flat line for now. So let's take a look at the Nino 3.4 region here. And we are looking at a temperature anomaly here of 0.158 degrees above the long-term average. Now, we are definitely in a warm neutral now. So as you can see here, we're looking at maybe April 8th to April 17th. We went on an upward trajectory here, but now we might be going down a little bit. Obviously, we're going to see fluctuations. That's just how it is. But as of right now, I really do think the El Nino is a little bit more of a slow burn than people might realize. But then again, this is just my opinion. I respect everybody's and all's opinions, but in my humble opinion, I think that the El Nino might come on a little slower than some might think. Anyways, that is going to be it for today. I enjoy doing this stuff for you guys, and I will definitely be back with another update later on this week. So until then, I want to thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one.